Morning, Rosevies. Janie Finlay here. We're recording this video on Sunday morning. I have a gorgeous member of the community, Petria, with us this morning. Morning, Petria.
Morning.
We're going to connect and have a conversation this morning about the discomfort of being at home. For some of us, a lot of this is new, and I've had lots of people reach out. I've been observing a lot of conversations online about the challenge for some people to stay home. And I wanted to explore that a little. I met Petria over the last year up at Grindelwald at a community event, which was just so beautiful. It connected the community together. And at this time where we're trying to remain connected, but we've got to be physically distant, I was reminded of Petria and some of the great conversations we've had over recent months. Petria has a business called Innate Health Practitioner online on Facebook, so you can check her out there. She does beautiful updates and posts to help us check in with ourselves, and is studying psychological science. So Petria, this morning, do you want to just sort of talk a little bit about your observation or your thoughts about how some people might be feeling right now?
Yes, thank you, Jenny, for reaching out here. Well, what I noticed is like a lot of people are probably feeling forced to not to do things anymore, and that can become a really burden on them, because we are asking here big behaviors to change. And having said that, that can be also loaded with a lot of fear involved in it. And we're starting to see in the mental health side that people are reaching out. Lifeline has much more calls now than they ever had before, just to deal with the struggle that people have being basically at home. And this is showing really that people can't really deal with it right now. But having said that, we will be able to deal with it once we gone through this a bit of crunch time in a week or two. So once we started developing those tools we need to deal with it, to be at home, to stay at home, to be happy at home.
So one of those struggles is that for many, and I posted something up this morning, and one of the responses was we're bringing our home back to being a sanctuary, because it's been the place where we've been so busy outside the home that we just come home to crash. And it's like, what is in the moment, how can we disrupt the thought processes of I've got to go and be doing something, I've got to go and do this, I've got to go and do that. And the Premier's calling out for us at the moment that unless you have to go and deliver an essential service, or unless you have to go and gather supplies, stay at home. What tips have you got for people to help them disrupt that thinking so they can be comfortable with the choice that it's okay, I've got permission, I can just stay home?
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for asking that question. So we are actually at the nugget of the point now. So changing behavior, Jenny, is a big thing. But actually it is not as that big when we really look at the source of what that behavior is, what we are changing. We're changing a behavior, yes, we do. But however, we are actually going a bit deeper. We are changing a thought process, acting into this behavior. And when we think about thoughts, so really what it is in that moment is like saying, I really want to go to the beach, or I really want to go and do some more shopping. So in that moment, we can catch that thought and don't act on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's being mindful enough to recognize I've got the thought, and the thought's okay. There's nothing wrong with having the thought, but that it's about then what do I do next? I go, oh, well, normally right now it's a weekend, I'm at home, the family are like crowded in around me, and I just want to get out for a minute. I'll go shopping, or I'll go to the plant store or the hardware store or whatever. And it's like, okay, no, actually stop. That's not essential. I'm just going to stay home. And I'm going to replace that with a different action. Are there some suggestions of actions that people could be taking now to replace the need to be away from the home?
Yes, absolutely. Just to summarize it, once we catch that thought of wanting to do something, we can acknowledge it. We can really look into it and say, this thought is real. It's just not made up in that moment. So as we said, instead of then buying into that thought to have an action happening, because it is so quick that we are taking that action normally without thinking about it, but now we are highly aware of that thought coming up, then we can say, hang on a minute, I don't have to buy into this, and I'm not supposed to do this, but I can supposed to do this. Like I can do some gardening. I can take another cup of coffee, or I can have another cup of tea.
Another cup of coffee. There's some businesses right now that are going to be going through gangbusters. And I think people that are selling coffee right now, coffee beans for the home or takeaway, are probably doing okay.
Yes. Or also, you can just read that book which you always wanted to read, which was, up on the shelf, or you can play another game with your children. I'm sure they're really valuing that time that mum and dad are at home. Or you can just, if you feel anxious or if you feel like more fearful than you used to be because of some uncertainties which are unfolding out there, you can have another 20 minutes of meditation. I think the idea is really to catch that thought and don't act on it on a conditioned way. Act on it on a different way. And that is the best time really to learn some new things. And then these new things, what you're learning now, you will be able to apply them later on in life when you might have some difficulties throughout other circumstances. So it's not that bad, really, if you look at it.
I think that's really interesting. There's been a lot of people saying that the things that we learn now, the things that we're reminded of now, that we rediscover now, are things that we can take forward in life going forward. Of course, I want to really acknowledge that mindless action, so not stopping and acknowledging the action and then the thought and then just going into action without consideration, is one thing, and that might have led to busyness. But there are so many people in the community right now in intentional action that sees them being very active, not necessarily busy. I tried to drop the word busy ages ago and talk about having a full life, a fulfilled life. But there are so many people in business, people that are transitioning from employment, that are in intentional action now to survive, to ensure that they can pay the rent and put food on the table. And that's very different to what we're talking about now. We're talking about people that are struggling with the idea of not being able to just be busy. So I really like that. Thank you. What are you feeling about in the home then, that if people aren't having to transition businesses, having to reconstruct their world after job losses, if we're talking to an audience of people that are at home and that aren't used to being at home, that permission to actually stop, and we don't have to be doing a lot right now. We can actually be healing and resting and taking time out. Do you have any comments around that?
Yes, I think the Premier said it quite nicely in one of his speeches I think a couple of days ago, and I had to laugh really, but it is, as he said, I want you guys to sit at home and watch Netflix.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that really sums it up, doesn't it? If you don't have Netflix or you don't like watching television, so that means you don't have to do that. But really what he is pointing out there is we don't want to force you to stay at home. We're asking you to stay at home and just do the right thing and just enjoy being at home. And we can enjoy so much, like we say, my home is my castle. Yes, it is. You can use your home at this time as a castle. You can unfold yourself. You can change your perception of being at home. You can see it as a sanctuary, as you said in the beginning, Janie. Yeah. You can say, I have fun here. I feel safe here. I can be myself. So changing our perception of being at home is a huge psychological key in this understanding. And you can also then see that being home is being free. You can do whatever you want at home. I mean, how much freedom more can we ask for at this time?
I love that. A few years ago, I studied yoga, and one of the things that I could never understand, and I did it because back then I was just a busy person. I was just addicted to being busy all the time, and I challenged myself by understanding the actual core of yoga as a way of life, not just as a physical activity. And yes. I heard someone say structure is freedom. And I never understood that. But when you actually put structure and routine and purpose in your life, then it's so freeing, which is
Yes.
incredible. But you made me think of something when you said that, with the Premier saying, you know, we're just asking you to stay home and watch Netflix. What I've also seen online, which I've loved, is people that are creating these amazing soups or stews with things from the corners of their food pantry. It's like, wow, I don't even remember that I bought that. Or people that are, and
Exactly.
some of my friends that I love that are so organized and so tidy and so incredibly not me at home, but they have been reorganizing their linen cupboard or checking out that spare room. And so that is a bit of time where we can do some life decluttering, we can do some simplifying. And as you said, I think we
Exactly.
can bring some of that joy that it does bring in this really unsettling time forward with us as we move through what we will move through, but as we move through this extraordinarily challenging time.
Yes, Jenny. And I just thought that actually brings me up into the neuroscience here a little bit. Our brain at this time is asking for our organization because we feel like a bit of a washing machine in there, and all our senses are hyped up, and we are looking for certainty on uncertain times. So if outside of us everything is so uncertain, our brain is really asking for that certainty, for this organized pattern. So there's no better place to be at home and do that at home and have that organized pattern. And then your brain, we say it is a bit like a computer, it will start really clicking into that mode of saying, this is what I'm doing now, and this is what I'm doing now. And sometimes there's things that you don't have to do anything. That's the time where you just be and just lie on the couch or just sit on the balcony or just have a really nice relaxed chat with your friend.
I love that. Look, that's a really beautiful place to finish on. Thank you so much on a Sunday morning for connecting and talking through
You're
these
welcome.
changing times. I love our chats. I love following online. I will place a link in the post and maybe use this post as a place to chat and connect with each other and to share with each other what you've been doing to replace those urges to leave home, what you've been replacing it with at home. Take care, everybody. Stay
Exactly.
safe and please stay at home.